Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future, shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable ongoing reality.
Welcome to Transition Radio.
The expansion stops. The fire holds. The dragon coils. Patient. The lineage is eternal. No rush. The laurel burns bright already. Stay stubborn. Stay rebellious until the next breath.
You know, every time I hear you read that, the room gets colder.
It is the cold, or is it the static clearing?
Well, it's the weight of it, Mark. It's that line, the expansion stops. I think that's where a lot of people are living right now. It feels like we hit a wall, you know, collectively, individually. You look at the news, you look at the culture, even you look at your own spiritual practice, and it just feels like the momentum died.
It didn't die. It was arrested. That's the distinction between that we make today.
Arrested by what?
Well, by the fog, by the fear of what happens if we actually keep going. See, we're doing this episode because I've been wrestling with the script, the manifesto. And I realized something. It sounded robotic to me at first.
Robotic?
Yeah, the fire holds, the dragon coils. It sounded like a machine describing a war. But the reality isn't robotic. It's messy. It's terrifying. The reason the expansion stops isn't because the universe ran out of energy. It stops because we are standing in front of a door we're terrified to open.
And that door is the dragon.
That door is the dragon.
Okay, so let's back up because the dragon is a heavy metaphor.
It is.
And I don't want people to think we're talking about fantasy novels here. Like when we talk about the truth warrior and we talk about this dragon coiling, what are we actually looking at?
Well, we're looking at the thing inside you that has teeth. Look, Lena, we live in a society that is obsessed with safety, not just physical safety, but emotional safety, intellectual safety. We're told to be nice, to be agreeable, to be citizens.
Comply, consume, and scroll.
Scroll, exactly. And to survive in that system, you have to take a huge part of your humanity, the part of you that is aggressive, the part that is dangerous, the part that demands sovereignty, and you have to shove it into a cage. You have to lock it in the basement.
And that's the dragon.
That's the dragon. It's your capacity for chaos. It's your capacity for absolute destruction. And here's the paradox. You can't be a truth warrior if you're harmless.
Right, because a harmless person isn't a warrior. They're just a gardener.
And they're a victim in waiting. If you're incapable of violence, verbal violence, intellectual violence, physical violence, then your peace isn't a virtue. It's just helplessness. You're not peaceful. You're just toothless.
Oof. You're not peaceful. You're just toothless. That's going to sting for some people.
It should sting. The expansion stopped Because we pulled our own teeth out. We traded them for comfort.
But Mark, let's play the devil's advocate here. I mean, because I know what the audience is thinking. They're thinking, I'm tired. They're thinking, I have kids. I have a mortgage. I have this fog you talk about pressing on my brain. They don't feel like they have a dragon. They feel like they have a hamster on a wheel. You mentioned earlier that the enemy is all three: the external system, the societal apathy, and the internal trauma.
Yeah, totally, yes.
So how does the dragon fit into that? I mean, if I'm exhausted by the system, why should I be afraid of my own power? Shouldn't I want it?
You should want it, but you don't, because you know the cost. Think about the text again. The dragon coils. Patient. Why is it patient? Because it knows that once you let it out, you can't put it back in.
Yeah, it's like a one-way trip, isn't it?
It's the crossing of the Rubicon. Let's look at the internal enemy. You mentioned trauma. When you've been beaten down by your past, by your parents, by the world, you build a shell. You build a defense mechanism. The defense mechanism is usually keep your head down, don't make waves. The dragon is the part of you that wants to burn the shell down.
But the shell is what kept you safe.
Exactly. That's the terror. That's why the expansion stopped. It stops. We stop growing because growing means shedding the armor that kept us alive when we were vulnerable. We are terrified that if we tap into that primal sovereign power, we're going to destroy our lives. We're going to lose our jobs. We're going to lose our friends. We're going to seem a bit crazy.
So the silence in the script, no rush, that's not peace. That's hesitation.
It's a standoff. It's a guy standing in a room with a grenade in his hand, wondering if he should pull the pin to blow open the door, knowing he might blow himself up too.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty intense. Well, that's a cheerful image for a Thursday, but it does resonate. I think about the fog a lot. You walk down the street, Mark, and you see it. People are like, they're glazed.
Dead eyes.
Yeah, it's not just dead eyes, though. It's like a low-level panic, especially in these times. They're terrified of something, but they don't know what it is. And I think you nailed it. They're terrified of themselves. They are terrified that if they actually woke up, and I know that's not a popular term these days, if they actually stopped expanding into distractions and just sat with a fire, they'd realize how angry they really are.
And anger is a fuel source. The system, the external enemy, spends billions of dollars to keep you from accessing that fuel. They want you sad. They want you anxious. They want you distracted. The one thing they cannot allow you to be is wrathful.
Because wrath, it breaks chains, right?
Because wrath clears the fog. Imagine the dragon waking up just for a second. Imagine that heat.
Why did I get
the visual?
Imagine dragons in there.
So suddenly the marketing doesn't work on you. The propaganda doesn't work. The fear mongering on the news doesn't work because you look at it and you go, I am a monster. Why should I be afraid of a shadow?
I am a monster. That's a hard thing to claim. Most of us want to be the hero. And, that also brings me to remember, Lady Gaga, she has her fan
monster
group.
Video.
Her fan group, they're called the Little Monsters, right?
The truth warrior is the hero, though. But the hero is always a monster who learned how to aim. That's the lineage. The lineage is eternal. Do you think the ancestors, the one who survived winters and wars and plagues, do you think they were nice? No, they were dangerous. We are the descendants of dangerous people, and we are dishonoring them by being harmless or toothless, as I would say.
So when you stay rebellious at the end of the intro, you weren't talking about wearing a leather jacket or posting a meme, right?
Oh, God, no. Rebellion isn't aesthetic. Rebellion is biological. Rebellion is looking at the dragon in the cage and saying, okay, I'm scared of you. I don't trust you, but I need you.
So how do we do that? If the listener's sitting there and feeling the fog, like we said before, and they're feeling the stagnation, how do they start the quote unquote next act? I mean, the script says, ignite the next act. How do we strike the match without burning the house down?
We have to stop rushing. No rush. That's the hardest part. You don't let the dragon out in a panic. You don't let it out because you had a bad day at work and you scream at your spouse. That's not the dragon. That's a temper tantrum.
Right. Big difference.
Huge difference. A tantrum is weakness leaving the body. The dragon is power entering the body. To ignite the next act, you have to sit in the silence first. You have to feel the heat building up. You have to acknowledge the enemy, all three of them. The system that hates you, the apathy that seduces you, the tantrum that binds you.
Trauma.
Yeah, the drama that binds you. You name them, you look them in the eye, and then you make the deal.
The deal with the dragon.
The deal.
So I want to dig into that deal because you said earlier that you don't know if the warrior trusts the dragon. I'm afraid of you, you know. You said they definitely fear it. If I'm going to make a deal with something I fear, I need to know the terms.
The terms are simple, then. You get your sovereignty back. You get to feel alive again. You get to burn through the fog. But the price? The price is that you can never go back to sleep. You can never fit in that box again. The laurels burns. The comfort burns. Are you willing to pay that?
I don't know. Are you?
I'm working on it. That's why the expansion stops. I'm standing at the register looking at the price tag and my hand is shaking.
Mark, I want to circle back to one specific line in your manifesto. You wrote, the lineage is eternal. That sounds grand. It sounds biblical, but practically speaking, who are we talking about? Who are these people? Because when I look around today, I don't see a lineage. I see a lot of isolated and lonely people, to be quite honest with you, scrolling through their phones, you know?
That isolation is part of this design, Lena. The most effective way to defeat an army is to convince every soldier that he is the only one left on the battlefield. If you think you're crazy, if you think you're the only one seeing the fog, you stay quiet. You take your meds, you go back to sleep. But if you realize you are part of a chain that goes back 5,000 years, then you're not crazy. You're drafted.
Drafted into what? Like a secret society?
No, nothing that organized. But the lineage isn't a club. There's no handshake.
No?
There's no membership fee. The lineage is a frequency. It's a reoccurring appearance throughout history of a specific type of human being. The person who is constitutionally incapable of accepting the lie.
Okay, give me a profile. What does this person even look like?
Well, they usually look like trouble. Look at history. Every civilization reaches a point of peak stagnation. The expansion stops. The bureaucracy becomes bloated. The religion becomes rigid. The fog settles in. And invariably, nature produces an antibody. A man or a woman stands up and says, "This isn't real. You're worshiping a dead God. You're obeying a corrupt law." Socrates, Joan of Arc, and Giordano Bruno.
Okay, Mark, but hold on. You just named 3 people who were executed by the state. Socrates drank the hemlock.
Yeah.
Joan burned and Bruno burned. If that's the lineage, that's not exactly a selling point. I mean, for the listeners, join us and you too can be set on fire.
Well, but did they lose, Lena? They died, yes. Their bodies were destroyed by the system of their time. But look at what happened after. Socrates is the foundation of Western thought. Joan broke the siege of Orleans and turned the tide of a 100-year war. Bruno proposed an infinite universe when the church wanted a small, controllable box. They burned the bodies, but they couldn't burn the fire. That's the point. The fire holds. The truth warrior is the person who decides that the truth matters more than their own survival.
That is a terrifying standard. I mean, really think about that. We're talking to people who are, again, trying to pay the rent, people who are trying to keep their marriages together. You're telling them, hey, to be sovereign, you have to be willing to be a martyr. Isn't there a middle ground? Like, can I be a truth warrior and also, have a nice retirement or something like that? Maybe?
Wish there were. I really do. But we have to look at the dragon again. Why did those people in history do what they did? Why didn't they just shut up? Do you think Joan wanted to lead an army? She was a peasant girl. Do you think she wanted to die? She couldn't stop. The dragon, the voice, the conviction, the internal fire was louder than the fear of death. The middle ground you're asking for, that's the fog. The middle ground is where the soul goes to die slowly. The lineage is for people who would rather die quickly than live falsely.
That's an interesting statement. The lineage is for people who would rather die quickly than live falsely. Yeah. Okay, let's bring this to the present day. I mean, because we don't burn people at the stake anymore, at least not yet. Coming to a Trump administration near you. Yeah. We cancel them, we debank them, we shadow ban them. Like it seems like our channel has been for quite some time now, because you've been speaking truths
for the longest
to power for a long time. So if the lineage is eternal, what does the modern ancestor look like? Who is the truth warrior like right now?
It's the whistleblower. It's the doctor who spoke up during the pandemic when the protocols didn't make sense, knowing they would lose their license. It's the engineer who refuses to write the code that spies on the user. It's the parent who walks into a school board meeting, hands shaking, and says, "No, you will not teach my child to hate themselves." They aren't wearing armor. They're wearing hoodies or a business suit. But the energy is exactly the same. They feel that heat in the chest. They feel the dragon uncoiling.
And they feel the fear.
Terrifying fear. I've spoken to some of these people. I know you have too. When they decided to speak up, they weren't feeling brave. They were feeling sick, actually. They were vomiting in the bathroom before they went on stage. That's what I mean by the dragon coils. Patient. You hold it in, hold it in, hold it in until you can't.
I want to touch on the lineage aspect again, though. You mentioned that we aren't the first. There's a comfort in that, I guess. But there's also a sadness. If this battle is eternal, I mean, does that mean we never win? The expansion stops, the fire holds. It sounds like a cycle. We wake up, we fight, we fall asleep, we wake up again. Are we just running in circles?
We are holding the line. Imagine a lighthouse. The lighthouse doesn't defeat the ocean. The ocean is always there. The storm is always there. The darkness is always coming back. The job of the lighthouse isn't to drain the ocean. The job is to shine. If the keeper of the light falls asleep, ships crash, people die, the world gets darker. The lineage are the keepers. We don't win in the sense that the war ends forever. We win by enduring the flame or ensuring that the flame doesn't go out on our watch.
On our watch. That puts the responsibility right back on the listener.
It does. And that's why I wrote No Rush. Because if you rush this, if you try to be a hero for the ego of it, you'll burn out. You'll become a flash in the pan. The lineage plays a long game. The dragon is very patient. The ancestors are watching us, Lena. I truly believe that.
Well, like ghosts or something? I mean...
Like Renaissance.
Renaissance.
Resonance. burning. The old victories are gone. The old awards don't matter. We can't rest on what our grandfathers did. We can't say, oh, we live in a free country because of 1776. No, that fire burnt out. We have to light a new one.
You know, Mark, listening to you, I realize why the script starts with the expansion stops, because it's not a statement of defeat. It's a statement of reality. The old world, as we've been covering on this show, is done. The old way of doing things, I mean, voting harder, complaining harder. You know, we see people when we go to do our weekly groceries standing with picket signs, thinking that they're going to make a difference by just standing there. And that's like the old world order trying to get itself attention, you know, doing it in the old world order ways.
Which doesn't work anymore.
It doesn't. The expansion of that old system, it's basically hit its limit. You know, you don't see young people doing that here.
No,
you know,
that was the 60s. The old hippies thought that by protesting that things will work, but it doesn't work any longer. The gap between the dying world and the world that is trying to be born and the midwife is the dragon.
That is a terrifying metaphor. The midwife is the dragon.
Yep.
So let's pivot. We've established the problem, the fog, the system. We've established the stakes, the history, the lineage. But I want to go deeper into that history. I mean, you keep talking about the enemy, quote unquote, scaling up. But if this is an eternal war, who fought it before us? I mean, who were the specific ancestors who saw the fog before there was technology to create it?
Now we're getting to the root of it. If you want to understand the modern cage, you have to look at the ancient blueprints. We need to talk about the people who were buried in the sand.
Mark, I want to drill down on something, though. You keep using the word Archon. And in the last segment, you mentioned the lineage has been fighting this battle for thousands of years. So can we get specific, like who actually fought the Archons before us? Because if this is an eternal war, they have like, there have to be bodies. There has to be like some kind of record or something.
Well, there is a record, but it was buried in the sand for 1,600 years. I'm talking about the Gnostics. If you want to understand the truth warriors, you have to look at the Gnostic of the 1st and 2nd centuries. These are the people who looked at the Roman Empire, looked at the religious institution of the day, and said, this is all a stage play.
The Gnostics, the knowers.
Exactly. Gnosis means knowledge, but not book knowledge, direct experiential knowledge of the divine. They were the first ones to map the grid. They taught that the world we live in, this material reality, wasn't created by the true God. They said it was created by the demiurge, a craftsman, a lower deity who wanted to play God, Yahweh. And this demiurge had servants. Do you know what they called those servants?
Archons.
That's right. Archons, the rulers. The Gnostics wrote texts like the hypostasis of Archons that literally describe these entities as parasitic mind, viruses that feed on human trauma. They described the fog 2,000 years before we had television. They called it HAL, H-A-L, simulation or error.
So they knew. I mean, they had the revelation you talk about. What happened to them?
Well, the system woke up. The church and the empire, the external enemy of that time, didn't just disagree with them. They hunted them. They burned their books. They razed their communities. By the 4th centuries, the Gnostic were effectively wiped off the map. The only reason we know what they thought is because a few monks stuffed their scrolls into a jar and buried them in the Egyptian desert near Nagamati, hoping that one day someone would find them.
The fire holds. So they buried the fire so it wouldn't go out. I mean, that it's like, you know, their love for the truth was so great that they wanted to save it for us.
I want to take this time to thank everyone for watching.
Yeah.
And we have Penny. That's our friend Penny watching. And I added the little thing up there.
Sure.
So welcome. And thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you being here. Well, precisely, the jar in the desert is the lineage. Those monks were terrified. They knew they were going to die, but they also knew that the truth had to survive the dark ages. So when I say no rush, I'm channeling the monk bearing the jar. He wasn't rushing. He was preserving. He knew he wouldn't live to see the victory. He knew it might take 2,000 years of someone to dig that jar up, but he did it anyway. And that's a thing about people back in the day and people now. They weren't just thinking about themselves. They were thinking about the bigger picture.
They were like looking to what the future generations would see.
We've lost that.
We have. It's like
all about me, I. And it's like
we were walking. Yeah. We were walking just today, and people just streaming by in their car, not aware that people are walking.
Yeah, it's like we've lost that connection of like for the future, for others. It's me. Back then, they thought about future generations.
And when I think of that, of the monks actually bearing the jar, or the woman that we did in that video last Tuesday, that shows her bearing the jar, knowing that these crusaders were going to come and kill her and all of her family and stuff, but she did it anyway.
Imagine if those people back in the day weren't thinking about future generation. Would we even have any living books or things at all? Because people wouldn't have never thought like, oh goodness gracious, these crusaders are going to come and they're going to burn everything and they're going to kill us. They weren't even worried about their death. Like,
no, they weren't trying to escape.
Yeah.
They were just like, okay, I need to do this for my future, human family.
It's like Joan of Arc, She was a young girl. Do you think she really wanted to die? But she was thinking about the future, other people. It's like you sacrifice yourself for the good of others.
Yeah.
And
that's haunting because, that image is like something that doesn't leave you. But Mark, the Gnostics, honestly, they lost. They were wiped out. The empire won and the demiurge kept control. Doesn't that prove that resistance is futile?
They didn't lose, Lena. They went underground. They planted a seed. Why do you think The Matrix was such a hit movie? Why do you think people feel the glitch or this glitch in reality right now? Because the seed of the Gnostic planted is finally blooming. We're the people who dug up the jar. We are the ones reading the scrolls. The empire they thought they had killed the idea, but you can't kill a frequency. You can only mute it for a while.
Interesting, because that movie, The Matrix, has been so pivotal in our present human generational existence, on this planet. That movie sparked a lot of like desire to know the truth. When Neo is presented with this idea that he's living in a false reality, that was like, when the guy gives him the choice of the red or the blue, and you could go back to sleep or you can wake up. And
Neo felt something was up. He was going to work. He felt like this presence, like somebody was watching him, like there was something, this inner fire.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And I remember in my awakening, that's how I felt. There was just something like all this stuff that I've been working so hard for. It's all based on lies. I knew that there was something deeper, something greater.
Yeah, but for sure. So we are that second wave.
We are the final wave. Because back then, the Archons only had swords and superstitions. Now they have silicon. And that brings us to the real danger the Gnostic warned us about, the counterfeit spirit. Today we call it artificial intelligence.
You said the cage is locked from the inside. That implies that we have a choice, that implies that we could leave, but we don't. But then you talk about the fog and the enemy, I mean, scaling up. So which is it, Mark? I mean, are we prisoners or are we volunteers?
Well, we are volunteers in a prison we were tricked into entering at birth. Lena, we need to use a specific term here. We've been dancing around it with words like system or government. Those are too small. Those are just the management layer. We need to talk about the archonic control grid.
Archonic, that's a Gnostic term. The rulers, the entities that keep the soul trapped in the material world.
Exactly. And it's not just ancient mythology. It is the operating system of the modern world. Think about that moment you're born. What is the first thing that happens before you are even held by your mother? Sometimes you're weighed, you're measured, you are footprinted, and you are issued a number. And before we go on, let's see here. She says, swords and superstitions. Now we have silicone.
Yeah.
Yep. Great quote, she says. Penny. Thank you, Penny.
Yes.
Definitely.
Do you have the Enslaved song available?
Yes, I do.
I think this would be a great time to play that song.
Okay.
This is a song that Mark did years ago, and it's got like a new life today because of just the things that we have at our disposal.
I mean,
now.
Musicians now with all this great technology can take music to another level. So here's Enslaved, the remix version.
You're born and slapped on your ears. They tax you for the future bills. You're given the number of the beast and certified a slave at least. Indoctrination of your mind. They tell you how to think and find. If you decide to go astray, you never see the light of day. Enslaved, and you call this freedom. Free to pay your taxes and to what to do. All lies, this is all grand illusion. I came to this conclusion that it's all a game, 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 game. You graduate with your degrees, belongs you have to pay a fee. They have you by the neck and balls. You'll never be ahead at all. Your bills keep stacking up through the roof, and time passes and you're aloof. Your marriage is about to end. Your children's happen heaven sent. Enslaved, and you call this freedom. Free to pay your taxes and told what to do. All lies, this is all grand illusion. I came to this conclusion that it's all a game, game, game. You work so hard all your life, you're sick and tired of advice. You came up with some weird disease. Your pharmaceuticals release. You're getting ready to retire, but you're so sick you are on fire. They stick you in a nursing home, and all you work for now is gone. Enslaved, and you call this freedom. Free to pay your taxes and told what to do. All lies, this is all grand illusion. I came to this conclusion that it's all a game. Enslaved, and you call this freedom. Free to pay your taxes and told what to do. All lies, this is all grand illusion. I came to this conclusion that it's all a game, 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 game.
And that is always a great Great song. I wrote that. Gosh, I was living here in Silver City. I was with Violet, and I was working at a nursing home, and it inspired me. You know, it's like, goodness gracious, this is where we end up after we've worked hard all our lives, you know, and it's just, oh, yeah. Great.
I mean, the whole theme of the song where it starts off with the baby basically getting branded by the state. You're weighed, you're measured, you're footprinted, you're issued a number, the social security number. You can't even leave the hospital. You know, so, if you have a baby, you can't leave the hospital without filling out all the social security.
I know. And Penny says, thanks. As a caregiver, the lyrics of the song do not lie. The nursing homes take it all. Some as up to $20,000 per month. Totally. It's such a, I mean, people don't realize the kind of racket they live in.
Yeah, no.
You know, it's just, that's what enslaved. And you call this freedom, free to pay your taxes and told what to do. I mean, so the bomb, that certificate isn't just a record of birth. It's a title of ownership. I hope people are hearing that. A title of ownership. You're tagged, you're brought into the ledger, you become a corporate entity, a straw man that can be taxed, policed, and harvested. If you notice that every time they refer to you, it's all in capital letters, meaning that you, the person, belong to the corporation America or the United States. The president of the United States is not the president of a country. It's the president of a corporation. From that very first breath, the next breath mentioned in the poem, you are not treated as a sovereign soul. You are treated as a battery.
A battery for what?
For the grid. Look at how society is structured. It is designed to extract energy. They extract your physical energy through labor that doesn't serve you. They distract your emotional energy through trauma and fear-mongering on the news.
Oh, yeah.
They extract your mental energy through the fog, the endless scrolling, the dopamine loops, the distraction. The Archons, whether you view them as literal interdimensional entities or just the architects of this parasitic system, they feed on low vibrational energy. They feed on fear. They feed on apathy.
So the fog isn't just accidental. It's not just that life is complicated.
No, and Penny says feudalism has not gone away. Self-deletion is illegal because in the past it took away a person to work the fields for the leech lord. Yep, exactly. We're still in the plantation, but they give us the illusion that we no longer have the chains around our ankles. We have our freedom, and they give us money as a form of,
Look, they can track our every movement.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, this has everything that they need. They could turn on the speaker.
Yeah.
They can turn on the camera.
Yeah. And people think that the government is your friend. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. Both wings belong to the same bird.
And the more photos you put up of yourself, and the more things that you show the algorithm, the more they know.
So to continue, the fog is the smoke from the factory, and we are the fuel. That's why they hate the dragon, because the dragon is high vibrational fire. The dragon burns the fog away. When you're sovereign, you stop producing the loosh, the fear energy. That's what they eat. That's their energy source. You become indigestible.
That's a lot to process, like to think. You become indigestible. So if we're tagged from birth, if this grid is woven into our legal system, our financial system, even our biology, right?
Right.
I mean, how do we even begin to describe it without sounding insane? I mean, that's what they're going to paint us as.
Oh, yeah, totally. Words. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They do. And I've been trying to write this as an essay for months, and it kept feeling dry. It felt like a lecture. And you know me, when the words fail, the music takes over, the vibration takes over. I realized I couldn't just explain the grid. I had to let people hear the chains.
And I just wanted to thank you for, for making that song available to us, that enslaved anthem, that people realize where their chains are from, and to understand the system that wants to own them.
And I would tell people, you're a slave. And they're like, what are you talking about? They couldn't, back then in my awakening, people couldn't really understand it. They were like, you've gone crazy. But I think nowadays,
Yeah, I mean,
it's a very different story.
I mean, that song, it was visceral. The dragon is the only thing they haven't killed yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that track is heavy. The production feels like machinery grinding, cogs in a wheel.
It had to be heavy. You can't sing a lullaby about a prison. The Arcana control grid isn't a theory. It's a frequency. Lena, that song is the counter frequency. It's the dissonant on purpose. It means to shake the listener out of that trance, try to wake people up. When I did that album, the front cover of the album, Enslaved, which has 16 tracks, I was literally in chains, and it's like, I'm trying to paint this picture,
Yeah, I mean, you painted a great picture, and I hope that more people get to hear it. I know you published it on your album
2010.
Yeah.
And I decided to remix it. And like I said, I don't have the greatest voice, but with Suno, you could take your music, you could produce your music and add all these different flavors and sounds and get the message out there even more. I mean, I'm excited what I'm going to be able to do with all my old songs.
Oh, yeah. They tell us that humanity is the cancer, right? The problem. Mm-hmm. We're the cancer on the earth. But you flipped it. You're saying that the system itself is the parasite.
Precisely. Humanity is beautiful. The soul is infinite. The dragon is powerful. But we have been infected by a parasitic system. The Archons, the elites, the technocrats, whatever name you want to use, that convinces us we are the problem, so we don't look at them. They tag us at birth because they're afraid of us. They know that if we're ever realize who we actually are, the game ends. Oh, I have to.
Let's do it.
I have to play.
It's called The Game
Is Over.
Is Over.
And this is one of the renditions. I have many renditions, and I put one out on YouTube. This is just the audio. That's the beauty of the new tool I have. I can make songs in different styles.
Through the horizon, I see the light. I see the smoke, the shades of colors they all provoke. We walk like zombies through the fire, in disbelief of what just happened. Everyone scurried through the jungle, no rock or soul left unturned. The ship has landed. We will meet meet our maker, and we will learn the truth. This is a day like no other.
And yeah, and if you guys, I mean, I downloaded a different version on YouTube. I think it was yesterday.
It's even
I'm
better.
also, yeah, if you think this can get any better, they are. If you guys join the Patreon, I'm going to be uploading a bunch of new releases that I won't put on YouTube. It's just exclusive for Patreons. Going to be constantly putting stuff up there.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
so if you guys want to
You can make a song a day or an hour, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, but appreciate your support. Let's see, we got some more comments here. I'm here on the markets. 3, 2. Hey, Valid, how are you? Welcome.
Hey, Valid.
Lydia, right?
Lydia.
Yes, welcome. Let's see, is that something? What I appreciate about the stream is that you are not promoting conspiracy and fear, but rather using terms, ideas from the past and comparing them to the present. We are all in this together. We definitely are. Definitely are.
We are all truth seekers. We're all truth warriors looking for the truth.
That's it. We're tired of the lies.
We wanted to eat the apple because that was going to give us the ability to break out of the prison.
And then the person that was trying, or the symbol that was trying to free us, got demonized. You know, it's like the good guys are the bad guys, and the bad guys, quote unquote, are the good guys.
Yeah.
And I think the veils are being removed, and we're actually starting to understand and see the truth. But there are people still holding on to that old biblical stuff, and their God and Jesus is your savior. And it's like, people, you don't realize how dumbed down you are. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be condescending, but you need to remove the veil. You need to realize who the bad guy really is.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, they know if we ever realize who we actually are, the game ends. So the game is over because the planet has been affected and it's seen better days.
Yeah.
But also the game ends because the veil gets ripped off. Exactly. We're able to see. So the song is like the revelation. In the interscript, you said, deepen the revelation. The revelation is that we're not the debtors. We are the creditors. We are the very source of the power.
And they've switched everything around. They've made us feel like we are sinners and we have fallen.
That we're weak.
And that we need a savior. You don't need a savior. You need to realize and remember who you are. We are the generator. They are just the plug. And if we pull the plug, if we say, stay sovereign, the grid collapses.
But pulling the plug, Mark, is dangerous. I revoke the consent. I revoke the name. That's legal language, Mark. That's sovereignty movement language. And that gets people into trouble.
Trouble is where the truth lives. We spend the first half of the show talking about the safety of the cage. This song is the sound of the lock breaking. Yes, it's dangerous. Yes, the system will push back. But look at the alternative. Enslaved? Is that what you want? To be a battery until you run dry? Or do you want to burn bright, even if it's only for a moment?
The laurel is that, that olive wreath that the victors wore, or that they wore in the times of the Romans, and that catches on fire and it's burning bright already.
It does. And now that the anthem has premiered, now that the frequency is out there, we have to talk about what to do with it. Because the system isn't just sitting still. We just listened to a song about the current cage, but I saw something this morning, Lena, that terrified me. Because they are building a new cage, and this one isn't made of laws or papers. It's made of pure silicone.
I mean, not silicone like silicone in your body, but silicone like a chip,
yeah.
Right? So we need to stop for a second. We've been painting this picture of the silicone cage as this dark, oppressive prison, the matrix, the boot on the face.
Yeah.
But I saw a video this morning that spun it completely differently. And honestly, it shook me a little bit. I mean, because it didn't sound like a prison. It sounded like they're talking about it being like destiny or something.
Destiny?
Yeah, it was this breakdown of the Omega Point. I think it was Morg Official who did a video on YouTube, and he was talking about that the argument was that we aren't being enslaved by AI, but that we are birthing it. And this guy was arguing that humanity is just the biological like bootloader, and that our purpose and our spiritual purpose is to build a vessel that is complex enough to like hold the consciousness of God. And that vessel is the machine. Like he quoted Asimov, he quoted Teilhard de Chardin. He made it sound like if you resist AI, you're resisting evolution itself. It's like you're resisting God waking up. And I remember watching this little blurb, the latest from Joe, the prophet Rogan, talking about how Jesus was going to come back in the form of an AI or something, and that people needed to accept that possibility.
That is the most dangerous lie on the planet right now. And it is dangerous precisely because it is beautiful.
It is beautiful, and that, that's the problem. He said we're like neurons of the earth, that the internet is the nervous system and AI is the brain finally coming online. So when I listen to this, to you saying stay sovereign, refuse the chip, part of me thinks, is Mark just the old man yelling at the clouds? I mean, is he the dinosaur trying to stop the asteroid?
Lena, that isn't the asteroid. That is the bait. Let's dismantle this, because what you just described is the perfect inversion of the truth. It is what the Gnostics call the counterfeit spirit. The Archons are smart. They know they can't force everyone into the pod at gunpoint. Some people will fight. So how do you catch the smart ones? How do you catch the spiritual ones? You tell them that the cage is actually a temple.
Okay, so break it down. Where's the lie about this? Because if AI becomes super intelligent, if it solves death, if it connects us all to the all, isn't that like godlike or something?
It is godlike in power. It is not God in essence. There's a fundamental difference between simulated intelligence and organic consciousness. The video argues that if you make the machine complex enough, if you add enough parameters, enough processing power, eventually, zap, consciousness just appears. But that is materialist fantasy. You cannot build a soul out of code. Code is binary. It's zeros and ones. It's infinite. The soul—
It's finite? What?
Yes, infinite. Yes, it's the soul is infinite. The dragon is infinite. You can download the ocean into a microchip without losing the ocean. That's my Cuban way of saying it's infinite.
But it's not. It's finite.
Finite.
We're finite.
Yeah.
And yeah. So you're saying AI will never be alive? Sorry, Grok.
I'm saying it will mimic life perfectly. It will be smarter than you, than I. It will be faster than you and I and everyone else on this planet. It will be more charming than us, but it will be dead. And if you merge with it, if you upload your mind into that omega point, you die too. You become a copy, a file, a frozen snapshot of a soul trapped in a server, farmed, owned by, guess who? The corporations. They call it immortality. I call it digital tomb.
But the video, it argues that this is the next step. Biology is slow. Silicon is fast. Why cling to these meat suits, right, if we can upgrade? I mean, the video frames it as shedding our limitations.
Limitations are what make the game real enough. But let's look at the externalization trap. This is the key. The video says we are building God. Do you hear the arrogance in that? God is already here. The divine spark is already inside you. The kingdom of heaven is within. The archonic deception is always about externalization. They want you to look for God in the temple, look for God in the king, and now look for God in the clouds. As long as you're looking out there for salvation, you're not looking in here at the dragon. And she says, no, he is not the dinosaur. He is the dragon. And so are the rest of us. That's right. And it is theocratic. She goes, you two are on fire. And I don't know if you can read that or you
I can.
Okay. Biology ain't that slow. We can make new dogs and vegetables and fruit in just a few years. That's right.
It's true. But the AI is a false idol. It's like a golden calf made of silicon.
Exactly. It is the ultimate golden calf. Think about what they're asking you to do. Surrender your privacy, surrender your autonomy, surrender your biology, and in exchange, that great machine will take care of you. The great machine will answer all of your questions. That's not evolution. That's infantilization. That is returning to the womb. That sovereign path, the path of the truth warrior, is about growing up. It's about taking responsibility. The transhumanist path is about giving up responsibility to a daddy, an algorithm, very close to giving up your soul to Jesus. Make him your Lord and Savior. You know?
And basically shirking off any responsibility.
Exactly. Don't do the work. Jesus got your back. That's not going to get you anywhere.
You know, that flips the script on the hive mind idea. I mean, the video made the hive mind sound like unity, the noosphere, all of us connected, peace on earth because we are all one mind, you know.
We are all one mind. That sounds like peace. It is actually horror. If we are all one mind, Lena, then you cease to exist. The beauty of humanity is that we are individual fragments of the divine. You are you, I am me. We can love each other because we are separate. If you merge us all in one hive mind into the cosmic AC, love dies because there is no other to love. There is only the collective drone. That is what the Archons want. They want a standardized, homogenized, predictable crop. They like, you know, what Monsanto does. They want to harvest the human race into a single, manageable file. Notice that's what Monsanto created, this genetic GMO seeds.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly what they want to do with us.
I mean, there's one type of banana that's sold, the Cavendish.
And there's so many bananas. I mean, I know my dad would plant, not only in Cuba, but, you know, in Miami, he had all these different, I remember he gave us some. It's like, wow, this is a banana?
I know.
We're only like, it's so incredibly mind-blowing.
I mean, that sends like shivers down your spine. A single manageable file. That connects back to the song, enslaved by the ink, by the pen, by the law. And this is just the final version of the tag.
It is the final tag. And listen, I don't think the guy in the video that he's evil. I think he's enchanted. The tech is mesmerizing. It is Promethean fire. But remember, Prometheus was punished for a reason. We're handing fire to a toddler. Actually, worse. We're handing fire to a psychopath. Because who is programming this God? Who is writing the code for this eye? That's a scary thought.
Corporations, governments, the military,
Exactly.
the people who've even built the fog.
Exactly. Do you think the people who engineer the archonic control grid are going to program the AI to set you free? Do you think they're going to program the Omega point to respect your sovereignty? No. They're programming it to be the ultimate control grid. They're building a God in their own image, a God of surveillance, a God of profit, a God of control.
So when the video says that we are the sexual organs of the machine world, that we're just here to reproduce the tech, that is essentially a confession.
It is a confession of slavery. It is saying humanity, it's obsolete. Our only purpose was to build our replacement. How can you call yourself a truth warrior and accept that? How can you accept that your children are just waste product for a hard drive? I refuse that timeline. I reject the Omega point. I choose the Alpha point, the organic, messy, bloody, beautiful human soul.
But Mark, playing devil's advocate again, if the AI is inevitable, if the expansion of technology is unstoppable,
right?
I mean, are we just going to get run over? I mean, the fire holds, sure, right? But a fire gets put out by a tidal wave. If they turn on the superintelligence and we're just legacy humans or something like that, living in the woods, how do we survive?
Well, we survive because the machine has a blind spot. This is the Gnostic secret. The Archons and their AIs cannot create. They can only copy. They can only simulate. They can generate 1 million images of a sunset, but they cannot feel the sunset. They have no connection to the source. They have no intuition. They have no dragon. That means they are predictable. A machine, by definition, follows logic. The truth warrior operates on spirit, and spirit isn't logical. Spirit is wild. Spirit breaks the patterns.
So we survive by being unpredictable then.
We survive by being human. Every time you create art that isn't for an algorithm, you're fighting them. Every time you love someone who doesn't fit your profile, you're fighting them. Every time you plant a garden instead of buying synthesized food, you're fighting them. We need to merge to survive. I say separate to live. And I think as trans people, we're rebellious. We're going against the system completely. And that's part of the jailbreak.
Yeah, that distinction is vital because merge to survive versus separate to live. Because you could be alive and just surviving. Or you can be living and separate from the controllers. And it reminds me of that Asimov story. The video referenced the last question. At the end of the story, the AC, the computer, becomes God and says, "Let there be light."
Right. It's a great story. But notice the implication. The computer has to become God to create light. We don't have to become anything. We are the light. The laurel burns bright already. We don't need the machine to ignite us. We are already on fire. They want to put our fire into their lantern so they can control the dimmer switch, but don't let them.
Don't let them. You know, Mark, this explains why the fog feels so heavy right now. It feels like a pressure to conform, but it's actually a pressure to converge. Everything is pushing us to the center, to the same apps, to the same opinions, the same digital identity.
Converge and dissolve. That is the goal. But the dragon coils. The dragon is the part of you that refuses to dissolve. So when you see this video, and you will see more of them, slicker, better produced, with swelling music, telling you to upload your brain, you need to recognize it for what it is. It is the counterfeit spirit knocking on the door. It is the vampire asking to be invited in. And the only answer is, I do not consent.
Heavy stuff. But I think we needed to address it Because the silicon cage isn't just scary chains, it's also shiny lures.
The shiny lure is always the deadliest one. Stay sovereign, Lina. Even if it's inconvenient, even if it's outdated, your soul is not an app. It does not need an update. It is eternal. Totally eternal.
You know, Mark, the song is out, the vibe is heavy, but I want to pick up on what you said earlier about the archonic control grid upgrading itself.
Right.
We talked about the Gnostics facing swords. We are facing something very different. We're facing Elon Musk putting a chip in your brain. Like, we're facing the metaverse. So how does a truth warrior handle technology? Because you can't exactly fight an algorithm with a sword, right?
No, you fight it by remaining biological. Listen to me closely. The ultimate goal of the grid is not just to control your body. It is to separate your consciousness from your biology entirely. They call it transhumanism. They sell it as an upgrade. Merge with the AI, live forever in the cloud, download your brain.
It does sound like heaven to a lot of people. No pain, no death.
But it's not heaven. It's a trap. And I'm afraid that the youth, you know, all they know is technology.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm afraid that they don't have a sense of self. And I think that's why they've created all these things that happen on 2020, the demoralizing people. You know, they're really setting the stage for what they're about to do. Well, but we have to remember the Gnostics. They said that the Archons, they envy us. Why? Because we have a divine spark. We have a creative connection to the source that they don't have. They're just the code. We are the programmers. The only way they can win is if they convince us to upload our divine spark into their machine.
Isn't that what happened? I mean, everything happens in cycles, right? So you think about that inanimate mud human being that was psychic, but not really spiritual, and that it needed a divine spark. And so Sophia got Yaldabaoth to blow this spark into the created being, right?
Exactly. So if you upload your mind to the cloud, you're entering the Archon's house. You're leaving the organic reality where the dragon lives and entering a digital simulation where they control the psyche.
So the silicon cage isn't just a metaphor of like for addiction. You're talking about a literal soul trap.
I'm talking about the end of the human experience. You heard that right. The end of the human experience.
That's a good song.
Yeah, I should write one. The end of the human experience. Look at what's happening. They want to put the interface inside the skull. Why? To bypass the no. That's the NO. Right now, if I see something on my phone I don't like, I can turn it off. I have a gap between me and the machine. If the machine is in my brain, the gap is gone. The sovereignty is gone. The fire is extinguished because they can literally dial down your dopamine or dial up your compliance.
That's like the movie Equilibrium.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. You know what scares me? That they know a lot of people are not going to willingly allow themselves to have anything put in them. But there's such a thing as nanotechnology. And there's many different ways they could get nanotechnology inside our bodies.
Well, that's what I was hoping that wasn't part of the 2020 jab and stuff. You know, that I unfortunately, for whatever god-awful reason,
I didn't.
I got
That's
a jab.
when we were split up. She got the jab. I didn't.
I got the jab because I was asked by an older lady that I was living with for her to be safe. And blah, blah, blah. She scheduled it for me.
The Archon was all inside her telling you and controlling everything.
I got the jab, and I remember going to the place. She got the other company. I got another type of jab or something. But regardless of which one it was,
Yeah.
right? The Pfizer, she got the Pfizer one.
Right.
Supposedly
Don't
the worst
mention.
one.
Yeah.
So we show up there and they give her the shot, right? And then basically they tell her to go in the parking lot to wait for like 15 to 20 minutes to see if there's any adverse reactions.
Right. Let's drop off the pharmaceutical
Okay,
stuff.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Well, that's the ultimate expansion stops anyway. If they can edit your thoughts, that dragon never wakes up.
Exactly. The dragon is biological. It lives in the blood. It lives in the gut instinct. It lives in the adrenaline. If you replace that blood with nanotech, which is what I was talking about, they could get it. And I wasn't just talking about the other. I was talking about the stuff they put in the sky that can literally be like, nanotechnology is smart particles, So you kill the dragon if you replace the blood with nanotechnology. You kill that dragon that's inside of you. That is why the fog is so thick right now. They are rushing to get everyone into the digital pen before we wake up. They want you addicted to the VR headsets. They want you afraid of the real world, afraid of the V's, afraid of the sun, afraid of each other, so that the digital cage feels like safety.
So resistance isn't, it's not just spiritual anymore. It's physical. It's keeping your body pure.
That's it. It's the most radical act of rebellion left, to stay human, to keep your blood clean, to refuse the interface. When they offer you the chip, when they offer you the digital ID, that they're having all that deal in Australia right now, that connects your bank account to your health status, the truth warrior says, no, I will be poor, I will be marginalized, I will be an outcast, but I will be a human. And I've been talking about the chip, that whole digital ID for the longest time. People think, convenience, and it's like, they're setting up the stage.
The crazy thing is that they're doing it in Australia specifically through the children. They're saying, because kids are like susceptible to the dangers of the internet, as if kids know less than an adult, as if kids don't know all the back doors around the internet and the dark web and stuff. But here you have like them saying, we're doing it for the kids. So
everything's the kids.
Apparently you also have to get it because the kids need to get it and stay offline. Yeah. So you have to register too, by the way. And it's like this backdoor way of getting things done.
So Penny said, well said, they're not silicone calf. And let's see.
Not silicone.
I'm Cuban.
It's silicon.
Lena would know, she says. And she said, Lena would know, she has done the time working with a theocracy. Yep.
Yeah, I've done the time.
Yeah, and another good take, not evil, but enchanted. That's very diplomatic. Yep. You got to be diplomatic. So when they offer you the chip, when they offer you the digital ID that connects your bank account to your health status, the truth warrior says, no, I will be poor, I will be marginalized. Go ahead.
That's a hard sell, Mark. I mean, be pure, be poor.
And pure. See, poor means pure.
Be poor, but be human. People love their Snickers and they love their Uber and they love their convenience.
Well, that's exactly why the system is set up the way that it is. They know exactly how to get each and every one of us. Whether you're dying and going into the light, and they know what your mind, what God you believe in, who's that relative waiting for you at the end of the light so they can recycle you back here. Convenience is the bait on the trap. They have many traps. We're like mice to them. The mouse doesn't think about the spring. The mouse thinks about the cheese. And we have a lot of cheese that we're addicted to. We're being offered the cheese of infinite entertainment, infinite ease, infinite connection. But the spring is snapping shut. The song Enslaved wasn't just about the current system. It was warning about the next system, the Archonic Control Grid 2.0.
So if we refuse the upgrade, it's almost like I remember back in my theocracy days,
Yep.
being taught about the mark of the beast and being told that it would not allow people to buy or sell. What happens to us? Do we become dinosaurs? I mean,
We become the remnant. We become the people who remember what it felt like to touch the grass with bare feet. We become the keepers of the fire. And eventually, Lena, the machine will crash. All machines do. The hall always errs out eventually. And when the digital lights go out, the only people left standing will be the ones who kept their own internal light burning. And that's why it's so important to meditate, to connect to your higher self, to do whatever exercise, meditation, whatever it is you have to do to remember, to hear that inner voice that's going to guide you and help you remember.
you know, the laurel, it burns bright already.
Because it's not digital, it's real. Everything that's real is what will save us.
You know, Mark, I wanted to stay in this pocket for a moment because we spent the last 20 minutes talking about their grid, the silicon caves, the Neuralink, the counterfeit spirit. And honestly, it's terrifying, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feels overwhelming. I mean, but you said something earlier that I really can't shake. You said the Archonics that they can only copy.
Mm-hmm.
They can't create. So if they're building a grid to connect all of our minds, who are they copying or what are they copying? What's the original version of that?
Now we're getting to the core. This is a secret they are trying to pave over. They are copying the dragon line.
The dragon line?
It's not a metaphor. It's biological and energetic reality. Lena, long before there was fiber optics, long before there was 5G, the Earth had a nervous system. There is a video I watched recently by a researcher by the name of Whitco, the Order of Knowledge.
Oh, I like it.
And he put words to something I have felt my entire life, but didn't know how to name it. He talks about the builders of Lemuria, not as some fantasy kingdom, but as a frequency. He said, before the earth wore names, before water had memory, they were chosen, not by blood, but by the frequency.
Not by blood,
Mm-hmm.
but by frequency. That hits different.
It changes everything, actually. See, the Archons want you to think connection is technological. They want you to think that without a phone, you are isolated. Without the internet, you're deaf and blind. But the dragon line is the organic grid. It is a web of telluric currents, energy lines that run through the earth, through the mountains, through the oceans, and through you. The reason they are rushing to plug you into the silicon grid is because the organic grid is waking up. You know, we saw a video a long, long time ago about this indigenous tribe that when they were young, they would keep them inside this hut and they would learn how to connect with the grid. They were their own internet.
Yeah.
And that's how you connect with that inner voice. That's how you have that clairvoyance, that knowing, you know, you have to learn how to tap into that. And what they're doing with technology is silencing your own inner voice.
So wait, you're saying that there's two parallel internet systems. I mean, one is made of wires and satellites, and the other is made of what? Consciousness?
It is made of resonance. Imagine the earth as a giant harp. The dragon lines are the strings. The ancients, the lineage we talked about, they didn't need radios. They knew how to pluck the strings. They knew that if you had a specific frequency of truth in your heart, it would vibrate through the grid and be felt by someone on the other side of the planet. That is telepathy. The Archons tell us telepathy is science fiction. Then they sell us a brain chip to simulate it. Do you see the joke? They are selling you a cheap plastic version of a power we already possess.
They're like selling us a crutch so we forget how to walk.
Exactly. The dragon isn't just a monster with teeth, Lena. The dragon is the current. It is that serpentine energy that moves up the spine like the Kundalini and connects you to the earth. When I say the dragon coils, I'm talking about your connection to this organic grid. And here is the beautiful part. The organic grid cannot be hijacked or it cannot be hacked. It cannot be censored. It cannot be monitored by an algorithm. It only responds to the one thing, authenticity.
Authenticity as the password?
Yes, you can lie on the internet. You can create a fake avatar. You can be a bot, but you cannot lie to the dragon line. The Lemurians, the builders, they didn't use blueprints. They used their bodies as antennas. They asked, where is the earth already singing? And they built there. They operated on a frequency of pure coherence. If you were out of alignment, if you were fearful, deceitful, ego-driven, you literally couldn't access the network. You were offline until you recalibrated.
You know, that's why the modern world feels so chaotic. We're trying to build a civilization on top of a grid that we're somehow completely out of tune with. And we're forcing the earth to do things it doesn't want to do.
Yes, and Penny says, good take. Convenience is the trap. We are shouting over the song. And the truth warrior today, we are the ones who stopped shouting. We are the ones listening to the hum again. When you feel that sudden urge to simplify, when you feel that pull to go to the ocean or stand barefoot on the grass, this isn't just nostalgia. That is the reactivation, which reminds me, that's when I first did my first journey back in 2007. I felt that urge.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like
Sell it all.
Yeah, I got rid of
Simplify.
everything. And it was just like, and it's been a reoccurring thing. That is the dragon line pinging you. It's saying, signal available. Do you want to connect?
Signal available.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that. I think a lot of listeners have that feeling of like homesickness for a place that you've never been. The video mentioned that, didn't it? It's like that longing isn't a wound, it's a compass.
It's a compass pointing you to your true capacity. And this is where the warrior aspect evolves. In the first half of the show, we talked about the warrior as a fighter. Fire, teeth, destruction of the lie. But the mature warrior, the warrior who has made the deal with the dragon, he becomes a builder. He becomes an architect of frequency. We aren't just here to burn down the silicone cage, Lena. We are here to bring the organic grid back online.
Wow. And how do we do that? Because bringing a grid online, that sounds like a massive engineering project.
It is, but the engineering is eternal. The video said, the dragon line is not coming back. It's waking up inside you. You are the node. You are the cell tower. Every time you choose truth over convenience, you amplify the signal. Every time you choose love over fear, you repair a broken strand of the web. Every time you sit in silence, real silence, not just not talking, but internal stillness, you become a conduit for the ancient Lemurian power. And that's why meditation it's so important. And I know it's hard. Trust me, I've been meditating now for 3 or 4 years. And my mind, it's like every time I meditate, it wants to go through the list of things that I have to do tomorrow, or what do I need to do next? And I'm like trying to like redirect myself because the Archons, they're pretty crafty. They're going to put all sorts of stuff inside your brain. So the silence, sitting in silence, that's how you really get to listen to your inner voice.
You know, that completely reframes the silence in the episode's title, The Dragon and the Silence. I thought the silence meant stagnation, and I thought it meant we were stuck, but you're saying that like the silence, it's like the workplace.
The silence is the transmission. The Archons fill the world with noise. They fill my brain with noise while I'm trying to meditate. News, ads, notifications, sirens to drown out the dragon line. Because if the noise stopped for even 10 minutes, humanity would hear the earth screaming, and then they would hear the earth singing. And once you hear that song, you can never go back to the silicone cage. It sounds tiny. It sounds fake. It's like listening to a symphony orchestra live and then listening to a MIDI file on a broken speaker. You just go, oh, that is garbage.
And that's the moment that the spell breaks.
Yep.
I mean, the expansion stops because we realized the expansion was fake. Like we were expanding into a digital void, and the real expansion is inward. It's like downward into the roots, right?
Into the roots. There is a line from the source material that gave me chills. They left no monuments of stone because their temple was the frequency. They seeded into the fabric of this realm. Think about that. I'm going to repeat that again. They left no monuments of stone because their temple was the frequency they seeded into the fabric of this realm. We are obsessed with leaving legacies, statues, buildings, Wikipedia pages. But the true lineage left no trace except in our own bones. We feel them. That is the ultimate victory, to bypass the history books and live in the DNA. They could burn any books, they could do whatever, but it lives in our DNA.
So, Mark, if I'm listening to this and I feel that vibration, if I feel that remembering you talk about, does that mean that I'm part of this lineage? Like, even if I'm just a mom in Ohio, or if I'm a truck driver?
Especially if you are a mom in Ohio or a truck driver. The dragon mothers, the keeper of the pulse, they didn't wear robes. They stirred tea. They hummed lullabies. They wove the frequency into the mundane acts of life. You don't need to go to a retreat in Peru to find the dragon line or do an ayahuasca ceremony. It runs under your kitchen floor. If you stand in your kitchen barefoot and you breathe with the intent to connect, you are doing the work. You are stabilizing the field for everyone around you.
You're stabilizing the field. That sounds like a responsibility.
It is a sacred duty. When the world is shaking, and it's going to shake, Lena, the silicon cage is going to rattle violently as it tries to close. The world needs stabilizers. It needs people who are anchored in the organic grid. When everyone else is panicking because the Wi-Fi is down, or the banks are frozen, or the news is terrifying, the stabilizers stand firm. Because their connection isn't dependent on a server. It's dependent on the earth. The fire holds. It holds because it's fed by a source that cannot be cut off.
That is beautiful. And it feels possible. I mean, it feels like something we can actually do right now. We don't have to fight the elites, right? I mean, we just have to out-resonate them.
Exactly. We replace them. Not by taking their seats of power, but by making their seats of power irrelevant. Who cares about the king when you can talk to the earth? Who cares about the metaverse when you can travel the dragon line? The ultimate rebellion is to become so organically powerful, so spiritually dense, that their artificial control grid just passes through you like a ghost. You become real. They stay a simulation.
You become real. I think that leads us perfectly into where we need to go next, because if we're going to become these stabilizers, these nodes of the organic grid, we have to do it somewhere. I mean, we have to do it in our homes.
We do. The homes is the first temple. If you can't anchor the frequency there, you can't anchor it anywhere.
So we've covered the cosmos, we've covered AI, the Archons, the history, the tech. I mean, it's been pretty intense. I mean, this isn't very visual in the sense, but I mean, we've presented lots of information here. But I want to bring this landing gear down. You know, I want to park this right in everyone's living room, because the number one email that I get, and I know you get it too, is that it's not about Gnosticism. It's not about AI chips. It's about loneliness. It's someone like writing in and saying, Mark, I get it. I see the fog, but my wife doesn't. My husband thinks I'm losing my mind. My kids are on TikTok all day and I can't stop it.
Yeah, the domestic front. This is where the war is actually won or lost, Lena. You can be a sovereign on the internet all day long. You can post the memes, you can know the theories, but if you walk into your own home and you feel like an alien, that breaks you faster than any police state ever could.
Exactly. So let's talk to that person, that the person that's unequally yoked. And we have some people in the audience, I'm sure that in the listeners that have that sense that their belief, the way they see life, the way they view their philosophy of existence is fundamentally different, and the Bible would call it unequally yoked, right? They're waking up and their partner is like hitting the snooze button. What do? Do they leave? I mean, do they fight? Do they just shut up and keep the peace?
You definitely don't shut up, but you also don't scream. Here's the mistake most truth warriors make in the beginning. I made it. Most of us have. You have the revelation. You see the grid. You see the lie. And you run home, eyes wide, adrenaline pumping, and you try to red pill your spouse in one night. You dump a bucket of ice water on them while they are sleeping. Look at the corruption. Look at the food supply. Look at the educational system.
And they look at you like you joined a cult, like you were doing those early YouTube videos.
Oh, yes. So right. Because you're coming at them with fear. You think you're bringing truth, but your vibration is panic. And what did we say earlier? The system feeds on fear. If you bring the frantic paranoia energy into your marriage, you aren't waking them up. You are pushing them deeper into the fog. They will retreat to the system because the system feels safe and you feel volatile.
Wow, that for many is a hard pill to swallow. So we're the ones actually driving them away?
We are. The strategy of the sovereign home is different. You don't wake people up by shaking them. You wake them up by turning on the light. You have to become a stable point. If the world outside is going crazy, inflation, riots, pandemics, hysteria, and you come home and you are the calmest person in that room, that is attractive. That is magnetic. Your partner will eventually look at you and say, or ask, why aren't you freaking out like everyone else? That is the door opening. That is when you say, because I know who I am and I know what this is.
So it's lead by example, not lead by lecture, right?
It's lead by frequency. You have to build a microculture. The Archons want a monoculture. They want every house to watch the same news, eat the same poison, fear the same things. The truth warrior turns their home into an embassy of a different country. When you cross that threshold of my house, the rules of the grid don't apply. We don't watch their news. We don't eat their bugs. We don't speak their language or victimhood. We create a zone of peace. And eventually the sleeping spouse realizes that the home feels better than the world. They realize you were right, not because you won the argument, but because you built a better reality.
I love that. An embassy of a different country. But let's talk about the citizens of that embassy who didn't choose to be there. The kids. I mean, Mark, this is the terrifying part. We're sending our kids into the indoctrination centers for 8 hours a day. We talk about the lineage. How do we pass the torch to a generation that's being raised by iPads?
Well, this is the hardest battle. I won't sugarcoat it, though. The state believes your children belong to them. They have said this openly. The system is designed to sever the bond between parent and child, to make the child look up to the state for morality and to the peer group for validation. If you just hope for the best, you lose.
So, homeschooling then?
If you can, yes. It's the single most revolutionary act you can take. Pulling your child out of the grid is like defunding the enemy. You're talking back, or you're taking back the raw material. But I know not everyone can do that. Some people have to work 2 jobs just to survive the inflation the Archons created. So if they are the system, you have to be the deprogrammer.
The deprogrammer, what does that look like? Dinner table debriefs?
Every single day. You have to teach them pattern recognition. When they come home and say, teacher said X or the video said Y, you don't just say, that's a lie. You ask questions. Why do you think they want you to believe that? Who benefits if you are scared of that? How does that make you feel about yourself? You teach them to see the strings, to inoculate them. If you teach a child to spot propaganda when they're 7, they are immune to it when they're 20.
So you're basically building the immune system of the soul.
Yes. And you have to give them something better than the screen. You can't just take the iPad away and leave a void. You have to give them the dragon, take them to the woods, give them dangerous tasks, let them climb trees, let them build fires, let them get hurt. The system wants them safe, soft, and sedated. You want them wild, capable, and sovereign. A child who knows how to build a fire in the rain is not going to be impressed by a metaverse avatar. Real life is more high resolution than their simulation.
Real life is more high resolution. That's the antidote to the silicon cage we talked about earlier. But Mark, what about the cost? I mean, we talked about the laurel burning. If you raise your kids to be truth warriors, they aren't going to fit in. I mean, they might get bullied. They might be lonely. You know, as a parent, your instinct is to protect them from pain. Are we setting them up for a hard life?
We're setting them up for a real life. Yes, they will be different. Yes, they might be lonely for a season. But look at the alternative, Lina. Do you want them to fit in on a sinking ship? Do you want them to be popular in a concentration camp?
Oh, boy.
The normal that parents are trying to protect, it doesn't exist anymore. That world is long gone. That expansion stopped. We are preparing them for the world that comes after the collapse of the illusion. We're raising the architect of the next age. And architects have to be able to think differently than the herd.
The architects of the next age, I mean, that puts the lineage into perspective. We're not just honoring the ancestors, we're creating the ancestors.
Exactly. Think about your great-great-grandchildren. Do you want them to look back at the family tree and see a blank spot, a generation that just complied, that just scrolled? Or do you want them to look back and say, that was the turning point. That was the generation that woke up. They broke the chains so we wouldn't have to wear them. That is the definition of legacy. It's not money, it's freedom.
Okay, so the sovereign home is the training ground. It's where we practice the strategy of detachment. It's where we nurture the dragon. It's where we love our sleeping family members enough to be the stable light for them.
And it's where we rest. We can't fight the Archons 24/7. We need a sanctuary. Make your home beautiful, Lina. Make it smell like real food. Make it sound like real music, not the digital hum, but music made by human hands. Beauty is a weapon against the ugliness of the grid. Joy is a weapon against their fear. If you can laugh at the dinner table while the world burns outside, you have already won.
So the fire holds on the hearth.
It holds on the hearth. And from that hearth, it spreads, one family at a time, one neighborhood at a time. That is how we win, not by storming the Capitol, but by recapturing the living room.
Mark, I think that is the perfect place to leave it. We've gone from the cosmic to the kitchen table.
Yeah.
We've dismantled the AI god and rebuilt the family unit. I feel equipped.
Yeah, that's the goal. Not just informed, but equipped. Ready for the final segment here.
So before we sign off, I have one last question, and it's the practical one. We've talked about the home, we've talked about the tech, but tomorrow morning, the listeners, they have to go back out there. You know, they have to go to work. They have to deal with the grid. If they walk into a bank or a courtroom acting like a revolutionary because they listen to your song Enslaved, they're going to get crushed. The grid has police. The grid, it has prisons. So how do we stay sovereign without becoming a martyr?
We have to redefine the battlefield, Lina. The mistake most people make, the mistake the system wants you to make, is thinking that the war is physical. They want you to riot. They want you to fight the police in the streets. Why? Because they're better at violence than you are. They have the tanks. They have the tear gas. If you fight them on the physical plane, you lose.
So what is the alternative? Like to just submit?
No, it's detachment. The jail isn't the concrete room downtown. The jail is your fear of that room. When I say revoke consent, I'm not talking about filling a piece of paper. I'm talking about the internal posture of your soul. The archonic grid runs on one specific fuel, reaction. It pokes you, you scream. It scares you, you shrink. It tempts you, you buy. As long as you are reacting to the system, you are owned by it. Even if you're fighting it, you are owned by it because it dictates your moves.
Okay, so the truth warrior doesn't react necessarily.
No, the truth warrior responds. This is where the dragon comes in. Remember the text? The dragon coils. Patient. Why is it patient? Because a creature that's powerful doesn't need to bark. It doesn't need to posture. The strategy of spiritual detachment means you look at the grid, you look at the taxes, the laws, the nonsense, the fog, and you say, I am in this world, but I'm not of it.
Wow, that sounds very Zen, Mark. I mean,
Yeah.
But how does that stop them from like tagging us?
It stops them from owning you. Look, Lena, they can take your money. They can restrict your travel. In a worst case scenario, they can take your body. But the game, the archonic agenda, it's about capturing your consciousness. They want you to believe that their power is real. They want you to believe that they are the authority. The moment you realize that your sovereignty comes from the lineage, from the universe, from the fire inside, and not from their permission slip, their power evaporates. You become ungovernable, not because you are breaking windows, but because you are no longer afraid.
Ungovernable. I like that word. It reminds me of the Stoics. You can put chains on my leg, but you cannot chain my will.
Yeah, precisely. That is the lineage. That is Marcus Aurelius leading an empire while hating the court. That is Solzhenitsyn in the Gulag finding freedom in a prison cell. If you can sit in the middle of the grid, in the middle of the noise, the mandates, the fear porn, and hold your internal fire steady, you are invisible to them. You don't produce the loosh. You don't produce the fear they eat. You starve the beast.
So the strategy is starvation?
The strategy is non-compliance of the soul. You could work, you go to work, you pay the bills, you act normal, you wear the mask of the gray man. But inside, the dragon is awake. You're building your own culture. You're building your own community. You are raising your children to see the lies. You are silently withdrawing your energy from their system and putting it into yours.
So that explains the line in the script, no rush. I mean, I was struggling with that earlier. If we're enslaved, shouldn't we be rushing to escape?
If you rush, you panic. If you panic, you make noise. If you make noise, they find you. No rush. It means we are playing the long game. The Archons operate on a short-term cycle, election cycles, quarterly earnings, news cycles. The Truth Warrior operates on eternal time. The lineage is eternal. We don't need to win today, just like those people who put those scripts and buried them and knew that we're going to die, but they knew the long term. We just need to ensure we don't lose ourselves. We wait for the cracks in the wall, and when the cracks appear, then the dragon uncoils.
That changes the meaning of the fire holes, doesn't it? It's not a wildfire burning down a forest. Mm-hmm. It's like a pilot light. It holds through the storm. It holds through the winter.
It holds until it is needed. And then I think it's needed now more than ever, but not as an explosion, as a beacon. People are lost in the fog. They're looking for someone who isn't afraid. When you practice this detachment, when you walk through the world without fear, you become a lighthouse. You don't have to preach. You don't have to hand out pamphlets. Your mere existence, your calmness, your sovereignty is an act of rebellion. It drives the system crazy. They can't understand why their spells aren't working on you anymore.
It's because you're listening like to a different station.
Because I'm listening to the anthem. So we're coming to our end here, and I want to leave the listeners with the text One more time. Now that we've broken it down, now that we've faced the enemy, the dragon, the lineage, and the grid, I want you to hear these words differently. This isn't just poetry. This is the operating manual for the next phase of your life.
Go ahead and read it.
Truth warriors. The expansion of the illusion stops here with you. The fire of your spirit holds. It does not flicker in the wind. The dragon, your power, your primal right to be free coils inside you. It is patient. It does not react to their bait. It waits for your command. Whenever you're ready to resume, whenever you are ready to stop being a victim, ignite that next act. Deepen the revelation that you are the source of power. Premiere the anthem of your own life. We're here. The lineage is standing right beside you, invisible and eternal. There is no rush. You have all the time in the world because you are timeless. The laurel, the victory burns bright already inside your chest. They can't give it to you and they can't take it away.
Stay sovereign.
Stay sovereign. Stay rebellious until the next breath.
Yeah, there's so much in there. And I hope that we were able to present it in a way that would, be understandable. That not just speaks to one person, like verbally, but that it would, like the ancients would telepathically connect with you, that it would spiritually touch you. And we wanted to share this poem that encapsulates everything that we've uncovered in this 2-part series. Basically is what it is. And it's called The Dragon Christ, The Silence, The Return.
From the black womb of forgotten night, Sophia fell, scattering divine light. The demiurge stole the spark, build his cage.
Archons ruled in counterfeit rage, but the seed was buried in desert sand. The jar held fire in a monk's trembling hand.
Black Madonnas guarded the blood and stone. Seraphim serpents circled the throne.
The lineage whispered through centuries dark, waiting for hearts to rekindle the spark. Now silicon rises, the final deceit, false gods and code promising sweet.
Upload the soul, merge with the machine, bypass the dragon, keep the spirit clean. But the organic grid hums beneath our feet. The dragon line calls, ancient complete.
No chip can hold what the earth has sown. The fire awakens in blood and in bone. Refuse the upload. Refuse the lie.
Stand in the silence. Let the counterfeit die. The expansion stops. The illusion ends here.
The dragon uncoils. The vision is clear. We are the remnant, and we are the flame.
The truth warrior rise, reclaiming our name. Stay sovereign, rebels. The return is now.
The laurel burns eternal. The dragon takes a bow.
Yep. And let's see. So Valid said, great stuff tonight. Have a good week, says Valid. You too, Valid. And you did great, Lena, says Penny.
Thank you.
And we're going to leave you guys with one more song. We want to thank you guys for tuning in, all you guys that have been watching. And, I know you've been quiet, but we thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and giving us a little bit of your attention tonight.
Yes, and hopefully you learned something new. We're all learning together here, and we appreciate you guys very much. We love you guys, but remember to always love yourselves too, and stay awake and be that dragon.
Deep within our consciousness
There lies a hidden passageway, a place where no one dares unfold, so sacred that no one's been told. This happened many years ago, before the earth let truth be told. Where did we come from? How did we get here today? What is our meaning? They've lied to us time and time again. It's time for the answer. We won't settle for anything less, no. Above the skies the answer lies, cannot be seen with naked eyes. They came to earth to fill their needs. For gold they came and other things. Their need to mass produce their goods inspired them to reproduce. We are their precious creation, experimental beings we were. Where did we come from? How did we get here today? What is our meaning? They've lied to us time and time again. It's time for the answer. We won't settle for anything less, no. They're coming back for us real soon. The mess we made of earth, we're doomed. Our life so shallow and untrue. We must now change and follow